you for asking me to say this year in Kitzur. Can I just say what a wonderful idea this is for Netzach Yisrael to be doing this, and that thanking my Chulchan as I'm doing this from their front room in Hendon. Siman Hey, Nikayan Hamakom, Ladava Shabakadusha. That is halachas about how clean a place needs to be in order that we can daven, etc. in that place. Kesiv, it's written in Devarim, V'chisisa esayot zecha, ki Hashem Elokecha mitzhalech b'kerev machanecha, that you have to cover what comes from your body, which we normally mean excrement, which comes from a person's body, has to be covered, ki Hashem Elokecha mitzhalech b'kerev machanecha, because Hashem is walking in your camp. And your camp shall be holy, and nothing inappropriate shall be seen in your camp. This is referring to soldiers going to war, but from there we extrapolate to all situations. From here, our Chachamim learn, wherever Hashem is with us, is going with us, when we are appertains to holy matters, could go in Kriyashma, for example, Kriyashma Tefillah, Torah, and learning, Chadoma, and all similar things. Sarach liyos hamachana kadosh, the place around us, this where we have to be. That place, which is called in the general sense machana, has to be holy. Specifically, shloitihei soya mugula sham, there should not be excrement in that place, uncovered in that place. There should not be something visible to the person who is davening or to the person who is doing, as we'll see, other devarim shebakadusha. Some Sif base. Even to think without saying anything, to think of a Davar Shabakadusha, a holy matter b'makam shara, so the place where this is, or even where there is urine, or kol davar shehu masriach. And a third category now introduced, anything which is masriach, means something which smells, is rotting, gives off a bad odor. Also, it is permitted, it is not permitted until it's covered. As it says in that pasuk, "V'chisisa esayot zecha," you have to cover what comes out. Alternatively, sheyatil asayich meraglayim shapam echad revius mayim. There's another halacha that if you have some urine which is in the room where you are, that what you can do is add a revius of water into that urine in order that it should be diluted, and in that way it becomes permissible. Whether or not that this was there first, and then you pour in the water, or whether the water was there first and the person put the urine into the water that was already there. As long as there was a revius put into it, then that is considered to be acceptable. But the exception is if there is a special container which is used, for example, in medical care, where a person would have a special keli for this purpose, a special receptacle for this purpose, and it was there already. Then it wouldn't help to add the water because that keli is made for that specific purpose. If there are two amounts of urine there, it's happened twice. You have to put in two revius, and similarly for each occasion there has to be an additional revius of water. Even if it's absorbed into the ground or into a garment, as long as it's still a little bit wet, you have to dilute it in this way with water. Sif Gimel. If a person has excrement on his body, even though it's covered by his clothing, also the Davar Shabakadusha is not allowed to think of Davar Shabakadusha. Shenema, a different source. All my bones, all my body shall say Hashem Michamocha, Hashem who is like you. That means be'inon shiyu kulam nakim. The whole of the body has to be clean, as if to say the whole body has to be capable of saying whatever praise or learning of Hashem that we're doing. And if it's not, then you can't do it. V'yesh markina rozeh. Some are more lenient with this, but the Kitzur's view is aval hanochan lahachmir. It's correct to be strict. V'yesh la afilu mat soya b'mei b'fiat habas. Even and when it comes to the part of the body which actually dispatches the excrement, that particular place, if it's still there, even if it's covered, everyone agrees that covering in that particular place does not help, because in that place it is particularly unpleasant and a bad smell, and therefore it cannot be, even covering doesn't help. Somebody who has an illness, which is normally translated as meaning hemorrhoids, has a special halacha. There's a famous tshuva of the Radvaz, etc. Discussion regarding this in halacha. According to some opinions, ein lo takana. It seems he says there's nothing he can do because he can't deal with the situation because of the illness that he has. And others say, Kitzur says, v'hutar sofer, that's a mistake. It doesn't say ein lo takana. It says that ein tzorech takana. Since he can't do anything about it, therefore he can proceed as normal because there's nothing there that is capable of being rectified. Daled. A person must be careful that there is even a question that there is some excrement or urine in that place. An additional point, that even if you're not sure, but it may be that there's something there, you've got to check it. But only as part of and another halacha, you can't daven in a building in Ba'aliyah yesh makom metunaf if there is such a place in the house in another part of the house. This is a disputed area of halacha. The Mishnah Berurah says that the common practice is not to refrain if it's not it's not close by in these circumstances in a different part of the house. Hey, practical halacha, very practical. Tinok she'acherim b'yomov yicholin lecha kezayis miminei dogon afilu al yidei tavshil bichdei shegodol orcha shir pras. So this is again another special halacha. If an infant reaches the age when other children of that age, even though this particular child himself can't do this, but other children of that age are capable of eating a kezayis of one of the minei dagon, one of the 5 species of grain, even if it has to be cooked, is then considered to be of sufficient age. Then we have to say that in such a situation, we have to treat his what comes from his body as if it's from an adult's body, and therefore all of the halachas apply. A child below that age, then there's more leniency, as long as there is no smell and nothing that's visible outside the from the child. Then in those cases, generally speaking, it's permissible. However, I would just add here that many are machmir not to bring a child of a very young age into shul when this is a possibility, because usually it involves a smell, and therefore that becomes a halachic problem straight away. But once it's reached the age, the older age of that it's able to eat this kind of food, it's considered to be a bit more mature, then it's definitely considered to be like an adult, and all the halachos apply. The Tova Yosha, says the Kitzur, as I've just said, to distance oneself from anything when that comes out of a child, the excrement of a child, even that's 1 day after Ben Shemona Yomim, after 8 day, 1 week plus 1 day old. Siman Vav, Sif Vav, Sayas Adam, Alpha P, human excrement, even though there's no smell, Sayas Chosel V'Nimia, or a weasel, or a cat or a weasel, I should say, but Sayas Targanat Adumi, or a Edomite chicken. These particular creatures were considered to have a very bad smell. We have to be distant from, we have to treat them always strictly. But from other animals of it's not such a bad decay, it's not such a bad smell. We don't have to distance ourselves in this way unless we know specifically that it does create a bad smell. It is creating a bad smell. Anything which creates a bad smell, machmas itbush, because it's decaying. Or a chicken run, marchikin me, a chicken coop, marchikin mehen, you have to distance yourself from it, as we'll see later on. They are treated always within this category once they start smelling. The first group is always considered, regardless of whether there is an actual smell or not. Similarly, you have to be distant from water which is putrid, or canvas, or water which we use for the soaking of pishtan or canvas in process which creates unpleasantness. We assume that they are bad smelling. And you have to distance yourself and treat them like tsaya. Zayin. Tsaya yuvesha. If the tsaya, the excrement is dried up, shehi nifrechas alidei galila. If you were to roll it, it would break up, it would crumble. Harahika offer. It's considered like dirt. As long as it doesn't have a bad smell. So at that point, if it doesn't have a bad smell, it doesn't attract all these strict halachas. But it's frozen. Since by defrosting it will become what it was previously when it gets warmer. It's still considered to be soya. But soya, which is covered by snow, is considered to be covered. It's like any other covering. But if it's gone to the extent where it's decayed and it's now hard, then it loses the halacha of soya. Ches. So what is this halacha we've been talking so much about? You have to distance yourself. If it was behind him, from the place where the smell no longer is there, you have to go a further 4 amos, that is between 6.5 and 8 feet. But even if it doesn't smell, and even if it doesn't smell, you have to go the distance of 4 amos. And if it's not putrid, it's enough to go 4 amos. So if there's a bad smell, the distance is 4 amos from the end of the smell. And if there's no bad smell, it's 4 amos from the place where it is. If it's in front of him, it has to be the distance of what I can see. It has to be that distance away where his vision stretches to. This is again an interesting halacha. So you should not be able to see it. It shouldn't be visible to the person when he's actually davening or doing the davar sheva kedusha. Even at night when it's dark, it's the same halacha. He has to imagine it was daytime. How far could he see? If it's the sides, he has to treat it as if it's in front of him. And he should turn to the side as if it was behind him. So therefore we have to apply the halacha depending on where it is. This may apply, for example, a person's out walking in a country and he's to have mincha or bench, and he has to be conscious of these facts and find a place which is appropriate in order to do his davar sheva kedusha. Finally, test place where there is a public to fill up an insertion and we find there some excrement. Af al pi. Even if it's behind the shliach tzibur, or and more than 4 amos from where the smell stops, he has to wait, stop davening until it's covered or removed. Because we have to assume that there will be somebody else, even if he, the shliach tzibur, is a sufficient distance away. But it's very likely that in a place where people gather to daven, that somebody will be standing within that area. So therefore, he's not allowed to continue because his responsibility is towards those people who are also taking part, even though they may not at this particular moment be saying the words. And the person is listening and he's affected by the smell, or by the, even without the smell, by the presence of the tzara, he's not allowed to listen or to be mechavan to what the shliach tzibur has been saying.